societies has controlled the world for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall.
We are now, we'll change the world, we know how.
Let me introduce Kirk Bible healing oils to you, which are infused with frankincense and myrrh. The truth is that for 4,000 years, frankincense and myrrh have been used as the principal medicine for pain, inflammation, fighting cancer, healing and disinfecting wounds, and more. Kirk quickly absorbs through the skin into the bloodstream, delivering nutrients and powerful anti-inflammatory compounds directly to each cell. Wherever the blood goes, the Kirk goes. So just applying a few drops in the general area of concern provides quick and effective relief. Used orally, Kirk relieves COVID, cold, and flu symptoms fast, boosts immune function, and is proven to reduce EMF-induced inflammation of the blood. Visit BibleHealingOil.com to read our testimonials and learn more about Kirk. Use the code on your screen for the best deals.
Welcome, it's Rick B2T. We're here to empower Christian patriots with truth. I forgot to hit the button, so this is take two on this. But hey, we have nothing after this on Wednesday nights, but I'm on Tuesday nights here. But Wednesday nights we have word and worship, and then praise and prayer on Thursday night. So join us after the show on those. But today we're going to be talking about Trump and JFK and the Q drops. And we're going to look at JFK's grave. Was that the beginning of started of the plan? And Don and Lemon to be arrested. So much going on. Tina Peters needs prayer. We were talking about that last time, but now we have a lot more detail on this. We have actual video footage of what went on there. So let's start with that and get into that video footage. It's quite intriguing. So here we are with a MJ Truth saying this is BS, right? Tina Peters deemed the aggressor in an assault that took place against her and now faces felony assault charges. So this doesn't look like a big assault on either one of the people very much, but you'll see there's this big canister here that Tina Peters is going to come and grab and try to get into the closet to basically fill up with water so that people can have water at night, etc. That's harder to get to. So she's basically doing a favor. I don't know if it was part of her duties or she was just doing a favor to all the inmates. But here you see Tina comes in with, there it is, there with the big canister. She's going to try to get that into the closet to fill it up with water. Now, here's the person that ends up slapping her arms and trying to keep her from doing it. But right now, she's not thinking anything. She just walks by. But now here's Tina, and she's going to open up the closet and try to fill that up with water. Right? It is as a service to others. Okay, so everything seems to be going pretty well here. Now, what's interesting, they cut out a little bit of this. So there could have been some more violent stuff going on behind this door that we didn't see. That there's like a full second cut out of it. So that's kind of a fishy thing first. But anyway, we see this person coming in here, and you'll see right here, she's trying to stop Tina from what she's doing. You can see she's slapping right there at her arm, is what my guess is. Maybe her face, who knows? I think Tina said she has bruises, so I think it was a slapping on the arm to keep her from trying to go in there and filling up that thing with water. And you can see Tina pushes back and grabs her because she was angry at her to try to settle her down. And once she settled down, she pushes her away. Now how can you charge somebody with a felony for that? Right? She's trying to do a service, and now this woman who probably has some power basically is talking to the other guys and tells her to leave, and she ends up getting handcuffed and put in solitary confinement into the hole. And so she was subsequently handcuffed, shackled, and brought to solitary confinement. She's told she's being charged with felony assault. This is pretty crazy if you think about that. She'll be locked down completely for 24 to 72 hours in the hole. So pretty crazy times. I'm going to show you that again. I'm going to back up a little bit. And here she is trying to get this machine to the water to fill up into the closet with water. Again, part of either her duties or her service. And you can tell she's in there. And supposedly it doesn't take much time to fill this thing up with water. This woman decides she's going to stop her. And you can see she reaches in there and it slaps her at least once. I guess there's a cut out there. She comes out and says that you stop that. And she's grabbing her collar. She's not grabbing her neck. She's grabbing her collar. Pushes her away. And they're going to try to keep Tina in jail as a felony for even more for basically for that. That is the criminal justice system. I mean, this in Colorado, very crazy, and this happened. And what's so fishy about this is this happened after the prior trial was shown to be a complete sham. The 3 appellate judges ridiculed the prosecution, ridiculed the past judge for a completely unfair trial. She shouldn't even be in jail in the first place. And during the appeal, she should have been out of prison. She's a Gold Star mom with no record. And now they're going to try to pin this on her too. This is Colorado and the criminals that run that city and that country. I mean, that state. It's really sad to see what happens here. Now, guys, this is all about election fraud. Tina has a Rosetta Stone of the image before and after, showing that Griswold and the criminals in Colorado are the ones that should be in jail. They're the ones that deleted the databases, breaking federal crimes of all the counties. And Dominion came in there to cover up the incorrect election results. She has the before and after forensics, and that helped us figure this all out and take all the whistleblowers and confirm everything about how the virtual machines switch votes and how Dominion is a criminal organization, as well as Smartmatic, as well as Eric Coomer and all those people. It's all coming out over the next couple of weeks. That's the beautiful part about this. And just to kind of emphasize that a little bit more, and it's just crazy, isn't it? I see some comments there from YouTube, I think it says, Jason saying, the corruption is so entrenched. Yep. And so he's saying, well, welcome back, brother. Missed you. Yeah. So after 5 full years, they give me the account back after all this battle's pretty much done. Right. So, but it's exciting to be back on YouTube. We are there. So good to see you, Jason. Hey guys, look at this. But this is Tarrant County right next to me in Fort Worth area, right? I'm in Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth area. New machine flips votes, manipulate the ballot images. This is crazy if you think about it. This is how sophisticated these machines are, okay? Election deniers of the world unite. So here's the story. Bombshell. Tarrant County Hart intercivic machines flip votes to manipulate ballot images. So as this is so important to understand when you're talking to your friends who don't think there's election fraud. These machines actually change the vote like it's not supposed to, and then change the image to support the fraud. Okay, that's exactly what's happened here with this. It says, even more shocking story is now emerging from Tarrant County, Texas, where Hart Interactive Election System not only miscounted a vote, but also manipulated the accompanying ballot image to match the wrongly counted vote. This incident indicates the system itself can be programmed to drop votes and cover it up by altering the company digital electronic records. This is why we have to go to hand ballots, and not even the digital images can't even be trusted. They can change the digital images to match the fraud, to match the flip votes. And guys, it is so important to understand also that this is the Hart machine. Remember, there's 3 major election machines in the United States. There's the Hart machines, there's the ESS machines, and the Dominion machines. If you go all the way back, it all comes back to Smartmatic, which is the company out of Venezuela that created the fraudulent software that can manipulate and change votes remotely. We know this can happen, and we have whistleblowers to show how it happens and where they did it from. Originally, in 2007, 2008, to get Obama elected, they flipped votes in Venezuela. Then they moved it to Serbia, and in the 2020 election, to steal that election, they switched votes to get Biden elected. Okay, and that software, actually, the Smartmatic software went to Sakia. So you had Smartmatic software plus Sakia software, and then the Sakia software was purchased by Dominion. So it's in all the machines, and then all that software, in one way or another, with the back doors in it to flip votes, is in all 3 of the machines: the Hart machines, ESS machines, and the Smartmatic machines. Incredibly vital to understand that, because the people will say, "Oh no, we don't even use Dominion here." Well, Dominion's in all the swing states. Coincidence? You think that's a coincidence? Of course it's not. And so now we have more evidence there of Hart machines changing it, and there's even more coming out. Here's Patrick Byrne in 2007. Venezuela techie directs CCCLI techies. So these are the technician from Venezuela in 2007. Again, setting up remote access servers, guys. They say that these things aren't connected to the internet. It's a total lie. Remember, modems are micro now. It used to be this big, huge modem you used to put in your machine, right? Now they can be as smaller than a piece of rice, hidden on a motherboard. So modems in today's technology can be hidden very easily. And that's what they've done in all these machines. They're all accessible, and they can be switched in all our counties. And they've done it for 20 years to us as well as other nations, okay? And it's very, very important to understand that the remote access is a fact, okay? And then in 2007, they were setting this up. Again, this is a Venezuela technician from Smartmatic. He directs a CCCLI technician who's Ronald Morales. This is a big name, guys. Just like Eric Coomer, who's suing Mike Lindell and suing Joel Altman and suing Patrick Byrne for defamation. Eric Coomer is the criminal, guys, who was part of this with Ron Morales. They both were real key executives in one, either in CCCLI or Smartmatic and then Dominion. They are both at Dominion, I believe, when they flipped the votes and stole the election for Joe Biden, okay? And so, again, they want to access them remotely from Venezuela to flip the votes. And that's what they did back in 2007, 2008 to get Obama to win over Hillary. Now, that operation got moved to Serbia under China, working with Venezuela. Most of our votes in 2020 were flipped from the Serbia. But you can see, CCCLI became Dominion. Remember, Dominion bought the CCCLI system. Venezuela, Smartmatic, CCCLI, Dominion, Liberty, they just changed their name trying to hide, equals one big Corleone crime family. And so right here, you'll see this is the email. Here's Ron Morales being CC'd on a message from Fernando Hernandez from smartmatic.com. You can see right here, clearly, Fernanda is Smartmatic Labs in Venezuela with Venezuelan phone numbers. And there you go, guys. What do they want to do? They want to set up the RAS support, telephone cable modem. They want this amount of RAM, the Windows Server OS, enable to configure the RAS system procedure. Clearly showing here the linkage between Smartmatic, Ron Morales, and what happened in 2007, 2008, and all of this stolen elections for Obama. And this is becoming real key, guys. And I love it. I love it how this is. And this is why Jason's saying this corruption is so entrenched. That is for sure. Sorry for having to start over here, guys, but here we go. I love it. And then Jason was also saying, welcome back. Missed you, brother. Finally got back the account. So we are, our number one number of views are on Rumble. So I had to start over here. We need to do some teardowns of machines using Smartmatic software. Those chipsets would be very interesting to look at. Yes, amen, amen. And that's why they won't let us have the machines. They won't let us. They won't let us have the software. It's all black box. Trust us. Trust us. It's just a big, very sophisticated because they can change the ballot images. It's like that's why Q mentions a lot of these as well. So here's Emerald Robertson interviewing Patrick Byrne about this very email that I just reviewed with you. And what's interesting is Eric Coomer, who's suing Patrick Byrne, right before his deposition this last week, basically said, "Hey, you can't interview me or ask me any questions about Serbia or Venezuela or China," where he was traveling around figuring out how to rig our elections. But anyway, here's a little bit about Patrick talking about that.
About the heart of the case, Eric Coomer has made a motion. Evidently, his upcoming deposition in a week is starting to terrify him. He's made a last-minute motion to the judge saying that we're not allowed to ask him about any of our allegations. We can't ask him about Serbia, China, or Venezuela. We can't bring up Venezuela on the grounds that it's all debunked conspiracy theory. So, which is funny because there's that email. This guy, which establishes in 2007 a Venezuelan Smartmatic engineer writing couple people in Sequoia up in Denver about setting up a remote access servers in upcoming elections in the U.S. I think it was Wisconsin and Chicago maybe. And that Ronald Morales, his supervisor at Sequoia was Eric Coomer. The two of them have been sort of two asses in one pair of underwear for years. They both went, Sequoia got bought by Dominion. They were at Dominion. One was the CTO, one was the head of product, or very, very interrelated jobs. They held for 15 years together, developed all this stuff, took the Venezuelan junk, which when Venezuela bought Sequoia, they put the junk in it in Sequoia in Denver, and then had Dominion buy it. That's how Dominion got this technology with all the back doors in it. And now we finally get them. Here's an email linking them all together in 2007, linking remote access servers being created in the United States, which are where they flip votes from. They come in from the Venezuela, or now from Serbia, or later from Serbia. They come into the remote access server is allegedly to give remote access to like the folks in the precinct to upload their results. They're telling you that none of this stuff is connected, but it actually is connected. These remote access servers go out, and by the way, the password, I hope this isn't a national security secret, but the password they send them from the factory is like password 123. That's the password. And so anyone can log on to these, but the truth is the center which does it was down in Venezuela and then moved to Serbia. That's why they need to set up these remote access servers. There's the emails that tie them all together in 2007. And in 2020, remember, this guy, Coomer and this guy were working for Dominion. And only after the election of 2020, somewhere in the last 4 years, Dominion fired everyone with a Venezuelan background.
So Dominion finally got rid of all the Venezuelans. It used to be Venezuelans were all over our elections, right? Until it started getting fishy and people started investigating. And now they're trying to cover their tracks. They fire all the Venezuelans, and now they actually changed their name. They actually went and did some weird non-disclosed purchase by Liberty, right? Trying to hide it while they're doing all these lawsuits. So not only, so what you had is a multi-cabal attack using lawfare. They had Eric Coomer suing Mike Lindell, as well as Joe Altman and Patrick Byrne, right? Then they had Dominion suing Lindell. You had Smartmatic suing Lindell. So you had basically this trifecta of lawsuits coming all over the place. So you can see, this is a criminal cabal that changed our elections from the local levels to the state levels, to the preliminary elections versus the final elections at the federal level, as well as all throughout for years. We have all kinds of people in public office that were not truly elected because the selection machines flipped votes. Okay, this is just a factual thing that's all coming out, and we all need to scream this from the rooftops because people don't get it. This is why Trump, after he talked to the three musketeers of Flynn and Patrick Byrne, as well as who they call Zorro, the main whistleblower from Venezuela, finally got to Trump after his administration tried to stop it. Susie Wiles tried to stop it. You had the whole DOJ tried to stop it. Even people underneath Tulsi tried to stop it. Todd Blanche is probably one of the worst persons that works in our DOJ right now. Is kind of the second in command who's kept all this information from coming to Trump. Once Trump realized this is when he really moved in on Venezuela, realizing that this isn't not just an infiltration of Russia and China and everything with taking the oil and all the minerals from Venezuela. They're establishing Iranian drones there off our coast. All that's national security stuff. But the thing that they almost destroyed our nation with election fraud. They took over Venezuela with election fraud, and they not only didn't stop there, they did it for 20 years in 71 other countries besides the U.S. I don't understand why everybody's not talking about this, right? It's just really wild to me that we have all this evidence I've been reporting on for the last 6 months, and people want to talk about. They don't want to pick this. They know, the cabal knows if they lose these selection machines. So what's Virginia doing? Virginia's actually put a bunch of Democrats in there with probably the selection machines, right? So now they have the trifecta of the House, the Senate, and the governor, as they got rid of Youngkin, got a new governor in there, and now they're basically changing all the rules on voting, saying it's illegal to have hound-counted ballots. You have to use our fraudulent election machines, is what they're saying. It's crazy, and they're loosening it all up to where illegals can more easily vote. It's crazy what they're doing. That's the goal for the whole nation, is what's happening in Virginia right now. Okay, so let's continue with Patrick Byrne because he's got some more to say.
They could, just to get the Venezuelan taint off them.
So,
and now they,
can I ask you a question here? Can we pull that email back up? At the bottom is a name, and it literally says Smartmatic Labs vote or access server.
witnesses for us, and one of them has a diary from that day where he recorded it. So it's really hard to challenge. And the reason it was so important to get to Cook County and Wisconsin and Arizona, I hate to tell you this, but I mean, the 08 election was cooked for Obama.
So you hear that the 08 election was cooked for Obama. And so the Venezuelans were pounding, we're going to get the first black American president elected, right? And they were really proud of basically doing it through election fraud.
Against Hillary. They didn't need to beat the Republicans, but the primary season was cooked for Obama versus Hillary. Once this upstart senator came out of nowhere and upset Hillary Clinton, who was like on a coronation to the White House, that's what made Obama he became this legitimate, and it all fed itself and he won. But that's because those initial primaries were cooked for him. And Ronald Morales is the guy who did it. And we have witnesses to that assignment. And that's why they're setting up remote access servers so the people from Venezuela can remote access and flip the results. And it's the same with 2020, only it's Serbia. This isn't a theory. We have the Fulton County, Pennsylvania remote access server, Eric Spakeen and Jim Penrose, I think, these two national level experts examined it, very highly regarded, and they said these absolutely were accessed. Fulton County, Pennsylvania was absolutely accessed from Canada during the middle of the counting of 2020. And once it's Canada, you don't know where it is. It's a hop, skip, and a jump. It could China.
They're hiding this by the Serbia machines would go into like Germany or go into Canada into our machines to try to hide where where the cooking was really done. Intriguing stuff that we're going to continue to follow. You guys heard about the Curate biblical healing oil and anointing oil, guys. That's the sponsor of this episode. And so you can actually get there by going to blessed2teach.com/oil. So blessed with the number 2, teach.com/oil. They've got all kinds of, it's got frankincense and myrrh in it. That's hard to get in there because they have to smoke it and take the smoke and infuse it into the oil. And so it's an expensive process, but you're going to love the oil with the frankincense and myrrh in it, and all the different combinations that they have that you can find. Again, go look at blessed2teach.com/oil. That'll get you to the website. Use the B2T code when you check out, of course. All right, this is interesting. Oh, Trump is continuing to just make CNN report truth. So here's CNN having to report more truth. Let's listen.
It's a huge deal because President Trump is the kingmaker in Republican primaries. That's why it's such a big deal. Take a look here. Times Trump endorsees won GOP primaries. This is congressional and gubernatorial. In 2020, it was 98%. In 2022, it was 95%. In 2024, it was 96%. President Trump has the magic touch when it comes to endorsing in Republican primaries. And when he doesn't endorse you, you go, to quote the great movie Good Burger, into the grinder.
And so Cassidy was one of the Republican senators who voted to convict President Trump in his second impeachment trial. How have those Republican senators done?
When you voted to convict President Trump in that second impeachment trial, how'd you do for re-election? Not so hot to trot, because let's take a look here. Okay, GOP senators who voted to convict Trump won their next election. Just 1 out of 5. That one is Lisa Murkowski in the great state of Alaska, which...
Yeah, and obviously Murkowski has that weird primary where they can rig it with the weighted voting and all that type of stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I see Jason from YouTube saying again, any ideas where Q is when we need them? Yeah, we're going to be going over quite a few Q drops here in next section. So hold your, because I really think the future proves past really has Q already done its job Whether the Q movement needs to come back or not, I don't know, because we're all awake. We're all researching. All the Annas are researching. I'll show you some of that research in there in a second. That's kind of exciting. But obviously, Murkowski got elected, but everybody else that voted against Trump got knocked out, right? That's the whole point, is that, and when Trump doesn't give you his stamp of approval, you're in trouble. But I'm going to kind of go back to here. Let's listen to more of this.
In the case of Ben Sasse, or there are two up for re-election this year, Bill Cassidy and Susan Collins up in Maine. But the bottom line is this: if you voted to convict Trump so far, your chances of winning re-election have been quite small. And Bill Cassidy, of course, just got a major impediment to his road to re-election if Letlow decides to run.
And this really largely has to do with how much Republicans still support Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, look, Donald Trump was popular in 2016. He was really popular in 2018, really popular in 2020, popular in 2022, popular in 2024, and now we come to 2026.
Among Republicans.
Among Republicans, exactly right. And he is still quite popular amongst Republicans at this point. Look, overall in July, it was 89%. That was 6 months ago. Today, it's basically the same at 88%. How about strongly approved? Those who don't just like Donald Trump, but love him, love him, love him. In July, it was 61%. It's the same 61% now, and that is why the GOP voters, when Donald Trump says something, they say, how quickly can we?
This is why I wanted to also point out, guys, that when CNN's having to report on this, and you have these influencers are being so negative on Trump, saying that we're not going to win the midterms. Remember, we're moving to military-oriented elections, and there's going to be a national emergency. Juan O'Savin's talked about that. He's going to put a national emergency out on, because after all this election fraud stuff comes out, there's going to be more support for it publicly, because everybody's going to see that they can change the images on the ballots, right? And everybody's going to see that we have whistleblowers and massive information to actually show, even though the mainstream media is going to lie about it. And that is going to allow Trump to do the national emergency and then put an EO in to have military-oriented count, hand ballots, one-day voting, voter ID. That's all coming in, and that's gonna secure the midterm elections. So all these black pillars that are talking horrible about Trump and think they're smarter than Trump and saying there's a huge division in MAGA. We're never going to make it. The Candace Owens are not going to be able to destroy this party. He's got too much support. Now, will they come out and vote during the midterms? That's the issue. And the Candace Owens of the world that say she's not voting until she figures out what happened to Charlie. That type of attitude and this whole anti-Israel that Tucker Carlson's doing, and so many others, and Nick Fuentes trying to separate the movement. Satan's trying to separate the movement, but this shows you it's not working. It's not working, especially when it comes to support for Trump.
We get to Donald Trump's position.
And if you want to see the impact that this had, just this one statement from President Trump over the weekend, what did it do in the betting markets to Bill Cassidy's chances of being elected?
Yeah, you look at the prediction markets. Take a look here. Chance to be the 2026 GOP nominee for the Louisiana Senate race. Bill Cassidy at just an 18% chance at this point, and this lines up very much with what we've seen historically speaking. That is when Donald Trump goes against you in a Republican primary.
It shows you the division's not so bad. Yeah, let me know what you guys think on Rumble there on chat, or on or also on YouTube. I'd like to see what you guys are thinking about what's going on here, because it's quite exciting to see that the uniting is going to happen, especially around election fraud. Right? That's all coming out here very shortly. All right, let's continue on some other exciting things. So here's Trump Truth section, where he's basically said the Department of Homeland Security and ICE must start talking about the murderers and other criminals that are capturing and taking out of the system. They are saving many innocent lives. There are thousands of vicious animals in Minnesota alone, which is why the crime stats are nationwide the best ever recorded. Show the numbers, names, and faces of the violent criminals, and show them now. The people will start supporting the patriots of ICE instead of the highly paid troublemakers, anarchists, and agitators. Make America great again. Really calling out the truth of what's going on there. He actually just played it. He truthed another video. It says 9 billion fraud. U.S. Attorney blows the lid off Somalia fraud network in Minnesota. This guy just talking about all what's going on here.
Ahead. Something's fraud that's much larger than what's been visible to the public. When I said that, it wasn't hyperbole or rhetoric. It was a warning. And today I want to talk and I want to show here a sense of what that iceberg looks like, because I think people deserve to know what that is and how big this problem is, because we can't solve the problem until we grapple with the size of it. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled the claims data for these 14 programs dating back to 2018. And those 14 programs in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018, and more than $3.5 billion in 2024 alone.
So and then they dig into it, and it's like over $9 billion of fraud. This is, guys, really key to waking up people to what the Democrats and the rhinos are doing to destroy the country, right? Bringing in enough. If you can't convince Americans to and use the selection machines to completely destroy the country, you need to import the world, right? You need to import and give them power to vote and power to destroy the country with money. You pay them money, basically hotels and SNAP cards and Social Security benefits and all kinds of benefits, right? The whole problem we are having with criminals, this is Trump again, in our country was caused by sleepy Joe Biden and the radical left thugs that surrounded the resolution desk of the Oval Office. And of course, the illegal use of the auto pen. They should be in jail. So this is all Trump here in the last hour. I like to always also come out of this and refresh, just in case Trump's made a post here real recently. 28 minutes ago, an Alabama pastor credits Trump for putting Christ back in Christmas. That's interesting that Trump is posting that, and then the rest of this I already had. So that was the newest post. Pastor Travis Johnson credits Trump for reviving evangelism. Interesting, and Trump retweeting that. That's always good news to see when Trump is proud to do something for religious freedom and for in this case evangelical Christendom. That's cool. Now here's Trump and Edmond argues judge limiting ICE in Minnesota would be unprecedented overreach. So here's a judge saying, you guys can't do what you would normally do with crowd control. No, you can't use any smoke bombs. You can't detain anybody. So a judge trying to tell them how they have to move forward. DOJ calls the state's lawsuit legally frivolous, says federal agents face increased threats during enforcement surge. So that I was reporting on that yesterday. That's an update. Obviously, they're going to push back on that because that doesn't make any sense. Here's this red state that's basically saying Fox reporter reveals troubling thing he found on Minnesota anti-ICE database. So he's looking at this database, and they're training everybody. And one thing they were doing is they're going around capturing license plates. And I'll show you this right here. So they actually said in their database, confirmed ICE with the license plate. They had to obviously redact that, but here's one for you. One of our rental car license plate numbers has been added to the anti-ICE database in Minnesota, and our car has been deemed confirmed ICE. The activists take license plate down and enter them into the databases. So this is very organized, funded, paying the agitators, actually trying to do everything they can to block getting rid of criminals from our country. Minnesota's Muslim AG to Christians. Church ambitions are just something you got to live with. So this Muslim guy who's the AG, of course, these are source-oriented. He put tons of money in here to destroy our country by weakening our law enforcement. You can't have law and order. That's what Trump's trying to get law and order back, which is a real key component of our survival, right? So here's this Minnesota, this Keith Ellison, justifies the anti-ICE protest storming a church service in Minnesota yesterday. And basically, this is Don Lemon. This is interesting. Has him on, because we'll be talking about Don in a second.
Protest
and his most likely arrest
is fundamental to American society. This country started in a protest, and it's freedom of expression. People have a right to lift up their voices and make their peace. And
so peaceful protests can happen in certain areas, but there are certain areas they can't. And one of them is the protected spot, especially during a church service.
None of us are immune from the voice of the of the public. So quite honestly, I think that you got the First Amendment, freedom of religion, and the First Amendment, freedom of expression. And I think that, I think it's just something you got to live with in a society. The
Something you have to live with. Basically talking about this storming of the public church. This is something you're going to have to live with, the Muslim says about the Christian services. Well, that's not the way other people are looking at this. So you got Harmeet Dillon sees things very differently from Ellison. Dillon noted that both the FACE Act and the Ku Klux Klan Act could be used to prosecute those who threaten, hurt, or intimidate people to prevent them from exercising their God-given rights. And that's the God-given rights to actually worship. And here's another article: DOJ to investigate and arrest Don Lemon and Minneapolis church stormers. So it looks like this might happen. This is crazy. So you can hear the AAG Harmeet Dillon basically saying this heinous act that occurred in Minnesota yesterday is receiving the highest level of attention from the Justice Department.
From the moment it happened, there are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for much, much less.
Yeah, he gave him like 40 years. Ridiculous sentences for people praying outside an abortion, and they weren't even keeping the people from going in, right? That was the craziness. And so these same laws are going to come back and backfire on them in a big way. Here's some other people talking about some things. We see, need a hacker who can fry the modem chips. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. The Racing Queen says from the YouTube channel. All right, here we are. This is interesting, the whole Don Lemon thing. I haven't played Julie Green for quite a bit for a variety of reasons, but here she is on my searching platform where we pull in and can search it. I can search on Don Lemon, and I found two times that she talked about Don Lemon. All right, this is 1/21/22. So this is January of 2022, and then you got July. So let me play the January one first, and we'll see what she says about Don Lemon.
Look and see what is being said. Everything that seems to be innocent wasn't innocent at all. Serendipity, this word will be used to describe incidents that will take place. I told you, my children, I am in control, and I am delivering you from everything you see.
Okay, so here it is. This says 4/9/22. Interesting. Oh, it looks like I'm playing the 4/9 one. That's okay. But here is, I think that was supposed to be 1/29, 1/21. But here it is about Don Lemon.
Don Lemon will be exposed once again, but this time he is in too deep, and there is no way out of this one for him. Watch him fall, but will take others with him, saith the Lord.
Isn't that interesting? And then here's another one here. This is the one in July.
What he says might surprise many. Catastrophic. This word will be in your news many times to describe things going on in many nations around the world.
Oh, that's talking about lemons versus Don Lemon. So that's what I did wrong. So this is the 4/29. Here's
stop the major news that is about to break regarding you. Your time is over, Brian. I gave you an opportunity to repent, but you chose money and your career, and that was a bad choice. You are about to sink like the Titanic because your sins have caught up with you.
So now here we are on the Don Lemon one.
Don Lemon, you will take a great fall as well. You will never come back to your position. Yes, for everything you have hidden and for what you have done for the lives of the American people. You will be completely exposed. The little that has come out to the surface is nothing like what is about to come out. Yes, you are finished, and your judgment is now.
Isn't that interesting? Thought that was interesting to see Julie talking about those two things that obviously are happening to Don Lemon losing his job, and now looks like he might get arrested for storming the Minnesota church service, right? And here's now I'm going to get to a little bit of talking about the Q movement now. Again, I know all of you don't follow that, but I've been following it since 2000 and when it started, basically all the way back, right? So I started my show in 2008, right after 2018, 2017 is when the drop started coming, and October 28th was the first one, right? So I started reporting on February and went through every single drop with you guys that followed me back then. And now a lot of these future-proof paths are starting to happen, right? So here's Joe Lang talking about it. Minnesota is just the first example. All the corruption is being exposed to the American people, and so are the crooked politicians that refuse to keep their oath. Protecting illegal child rapists and murderers was never part of their oath of office. So then he's going to talk a little bit about some of these Q drops. So that Q drop 4699, September 14th, 2020, says, what happens when people in positions of power are sympathizers to the cause or part of that same organization themselves? What is a safe zone? What are riots conducted in specific Democratic controlled locations? What happens when elected officials, governors, mayors handcuff the officers instead of criminals? I think we kind of see that coming right now, right? Tina Peters is one example, right? At least a whistleblower. What happens when elected officials, governors, mayors refuse to call in the National Guard or the federal assistance? We saw that happen in California, obviously. Sacrificing the lives of well-being of the community for a calculated political gain or other. Waltz, Frey aren't just, now that's the end of that Q drop, at least the part that he's emphasizing. And then he talks about Waltz and Frey, who Frey is the mayor there, Waltz being the governor of Minnesota, right? Aren't just sympathizers of Somali fraud. They are participating in the theft of taxpayer money. That's why they created a sanctuary state city. They have placed illegal child rapists and murderers ahead of the citizens of Minnesota. And they keep calling for resistance and violence. They have nothing to lose. They both know that they are going to be exposed and go to prison. TikTok. Exactly right, guys. I really believe that Q is pointing to this scenario right now that's happening, right? And we talked about a bunch of other Q drops yesterday that were pointing toward National Guard and what's probably going to be happening, right? It's going to be real interesting. We'll say political reset soon. Cause has to. So, okay, so let's go to another one here. This is what I put on the thumbnail of this. You see this Department of Labor continuing to put stuff. They posted this picture. It says second to none. You can see it right here. This is the U.S. Department of Labor underneath the Trump administration, right? This is yesterday's post. He said, tomorrow marks 1 year since the most pro-worker president in history was inaugurated. Under President Trump's America First leadership, our people are stronger, safer, and more prosperous than ever before, and our nation is second to none. And Trump is second to none. So they put this picture here. What's interesting about this picture is the exact same picture that was in the Q drop years ago, right? And it just had different wording. It's right here. In reality, they are not after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way. Right, and you can see it was actually posted 2 times, right? That same picture, the exact same picture. Again, this is after they did 4 different Q sayings that I already reported on the last Monday, right? That actually talks about trust the plan, talks about patriots are in control. America First is there quite a bit in the Q drops. So you go back to Monday's show if you want to go dig into what I talked about here. Now this annon's talking about it this way. The Q posting spree by the U.S. Department of Labor continues on. This time we have the exact POTUS image match seen in Q drops 4093 and 4612. Anons of Q targeted for a reason. That's really the kind of the major theme of those two, is that the researchers, the anonymous people that were researching called Anons, right, of Q, they're targeted because they're dangerous to the cabal. They tried to just discredit everybody and just keep quiet about Q, and then they realized it got too big, and they went on an all-out attack, lying about it, not talking about what the Q drop said, but talking about what other people said or what some crazy people may have said versus what the actual Q drop said, and lying, telling you that it's part of the dark web when they are public websites. You could go on to 4chan or 8chan anytime you wanted to, and it was just anonymous boards. They didn't like that. They want to know who you are. That's why they made it laws in like Australia to say, hey, if you cannot be having a social media account unless you can prove you're 18 years old. And the only way you can prove that is you have to give them your ID. So there can be no anonymous accounts anymore. So that's a real reason that the cabal-controlled Australian government put that in, right? Here's 4612 says if you pose no threat, reach, and topics to their control, information dominance, they would not continue to expend ammunition. This is the problem. The Mockingbird media had control over everybody, right? When everybody's watching Walter Cronkite, all that type of stuff, and they had 100% control over the information. All the magazines, JP Morgan went and bought all of the top 25 newspapers, and controlled the narrative, the Mockingbird media talking points. We destroyed that with the Q movement. That was a huge part of this, guys, the social media and the Q movement together. If you pose no threat, reaching topics to their control information, they would not continue to expend ammunition where they just started attacking everybody. They would not care. That's why they took my YouTube account was completely taken out 5.5 years ago, right before the 2020 election. All for conspiracy, information warfare. And 4093 said people, an informed, free-thinking public. That's why I'm so excited about you guys. Thank you for being digital soldiers and thumbsing this up and sharing it. Just make sure you're subscribed, right? Awake, us being awake, people, an informed, free-thinking public, awake is their greatest fear. United we stand, Q. Both of these drops highlight that digital warriors supporting Trump Q are targeted for a reason, as they are a threat to the fake news globalist controlled narratives and psyops. And that's what we had with these latest drops from or tweets from the Department of Labor. And they report to a couple of things. Now, there's another anon, actually took it a step further, and he said another word in here that is key that he felt. I'm going to come back to here. Nothing to see here. Nope. Dominance. So there's a word dominance that was in this drop here. Both posts posted by the Department of Labor on the same day. And so they posted this "Your Nation Calls" right here, and it basically talked about dominance, right? So kind of pointing again back to the picture, as well as one of the key words in there where this said, "Join the movement to unleash American industrial technology dominance." The Department of Labor is talking about. So a couple of different links to the Q drops. I think you can see this is future proofs past. That's what this is all about. And that's an important part about this. I love this. What Linda Jackson saying, God wins. It's exactly right. And that's what the Q drops point had the armor of God in there like 7 times, right? It's pointing to quite a few references to the Lord, references to Scripture. Here's another one. In the Matrix makes a connection. He says, big clockwork signal, pesky Q-proof. So Dan Scavino, who ran the social media accounts for Trump, still does, probably part of the Q team, or at least working with the Q team with the zero deltas and all that. So he's a key guy that the researchers follow. He dropped fire on 119 at 2033 EDT. So a lot of time they see what time these tweets happen, and they're pointing to a Q drop, right? That's especially with Scavino and other people like Trump. Video of night ops, airport, runway, lights blazing, aircraft in a frame, pure patriotic energy. So they just do this patriotic video, and you'll see a picture of it. They put a picture of here of this video from Dan Scavino on Instagram at 2033. So you look at 2033, and it points to this clock, which happened to be having 19 on the 19th. right? And so the whole point was like clockwork. Here we are. Basically, the plan is working like clockwork, I think is the major message that is coming out of here. It also shows that it's a marker. So this talks about marker 1. So when you see this marker 1, he might be pointing to this marker. And so that's what he's talking about here. So he says, timestamp 2033, straight callback to Q drop 2033. And like clockwork, Q, everything is happening exactly as planned, no coincidences. Zoom in and watch the collage of Scavino Loves, IWC chronograph, and the date window screaming 19. So basically saying, hey, the 19th of January was a marker. Hands plus markers, time's up for the cabal. Anon's flagged marker 1 and 19 overlays instantly. This ties back years. Q clock precision, military timing, Trump control. Scavino isn't posting random vacation pics. He's signaling the storm is here on schedule. Why today? 1 year plus 1 day after the real inauguration reset vibes. National Popcorn Day incoming. Q drops about future proofs past and events unfolding like clockwork. Globalist deep state fake news. They're panicking because Trump won. The plan is executing. Military is the backbone. Patriots know nothing can stop what is coming. Hat tip to this guy that actually found some of these things. And there's a marker 2 here that has another date of the 27th, pointing to a certain time. And so we've got analysis on that as well. Just trying to show you, I haven't talked a lot about Q over the last couple of years, but it's coming back into play pretty heavily, showing that this is the plan is executing. You can be confident, guys, this is all happening. Here's SG Anon, another guy that's been on the show quite a bit, brilliant researcher slash analyst. And he says, in case you missed it, President Trump shared a screenshot from an X account calling itself JFK Jr., John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., with an X username of the 17th letter 4. So that's interesting. 17th letter in the alphabet is obviously Q, right? So this points to both Q and JFK Jr. And it's a commentary account, but it says Trump's best speech ever. Media won't show this to you, and it's just linking to a past speech. Probably, I think that's his inauguration, where he said he's giving power back to the people, right? So interesting, another show that this is Trump retweeting something that points back to the Q drops. He's done this a lot lately. And that's why I thought it might be good to start putting a section in the show again to show you guys how much stuff is pointing back to the Q drops. Here is Elon Musk basically saying, it says, wild shot chaser, liberal ICE broke down a door and detained a U.S. citizen. The citizen is harboring 2 convicted sex offenders. So this is interesting that he's talking about this. But what I like here is Clandestine, who's another Anon researcher, anonymous person, basically says, when people get mad about the lack of high-profile arrests, they direct their displeasure at Bondi and Patel. You see a lot of people saying, what did Bongino do? What's Patel doing? What's Bondi doing? How come we're not arresting people? The Democrats arrested a bunch of people. Well, just think about it. They arrested like Bannon. He's out doing great things, right? Many other people around the Trump cabinet, and they tried after Trump, but they arrested a lot of people, a lot of J6 people that destroyed their lives, right? But guys, we're trying to take down a couple 100-year, maybe centuries old cabal, and we're going for the whole thing, not just trophies. So this is important. But given the magnitude and scope of the criminality, I don't know if the DOJ is even the right avenue to prosecute this mess. That is so key that people don't understand. Guys, we have compromised judges everywhere. We have compromised jury pools that listen to Rachel Maddow at night and watch CNN and watch MSNBC. It's like you really think we're going to be able to convict these people? I mean, slap on the wrist of Epstein as an example. Comey, say, hey, you lied to the FBI, slap on the wrist type thing. It might have to be handled by the military. I think this is no question. That's why the whole Q drops talk about military is the only way. We have to have military tribunals because of the way they've captured the operation of our judicial system, right? Not to mention our legislative system and our executive branch as well. But the Dems are engaged in a decades-long treasonous conspiracy in which they, and I wouldn't say the Dems, I would say the Dems and the rhinos, right, the uniparty, are engaged in decades-long treasonous conspiracy in which they willingly did not enforce our immigration laws as part of a broader scheme to steal elections. This is so important. This is where it all comes down to. All while they stole billions of our tax dollars and tried to replace us with low IQ immigrants they could control better. In addition to the whole treasonous Russiagate hoax, COVID hoax, January 6th hoax, etc., in which they, along with their cohorts in the media, wittingly brainwashed the planet to accept their lies. Not to mention the release of a man-made biological weapon, giving Iran the capability to build nuclear weapons, enabling cartels to engage in human drug trafficking, and the mountain of other heinous crimes they committed. At what point does the global crime syndicate become so vast and so entrenched that the military has to step in? This is like summarizing Q drops, is what he's really doing here. My point is, for everyone complaining about Bondi Patel, I don't think your displeasure is even directed in the right place. The situation is so severe, I don't think the DOJ can feasibly take it on. I think they can gather all the evidence and build a case, but the prosecution might have to be handled via military tribunals, given the magnitude of the crimes at hand. I've been saying that for 7 years, guys, that we're moving to military tribunals, right? That's what the Q drops pointed to. That is what is going to happen here. And now how quickly that will happen, who knows? But once this election fraud's out, that is treason to the highest extent, destroying our country completely with changing images on the of the image. It says, hey, here's a picture of this person voting. He votes for Trump. The system switches to Biden and it changes the image. Oh, the person actually voted for Biden. So when they do an audit, it matches. That's how criminal these machines are. I know people will say the military tribunals are normally reserved for times of war, but this is a war. This is irregular warfare from the domestic enemy. The U.S. is under attack from within by hostile foreign combatants seeking to destroy this nation and our people. We are at war, whether you believe it or not. This situation must be handled by the military. It would be a threat to national security to do it any other way. It must be done. So again, we could do all these trials and try to go through with Pam Bondi trying to arrest all these people, and all these lawyers would come in, and just like they did with Comey, they would have these judges come in and intervene, and we wouldn't make any progress with getting to justice. This is why Pete Hegseth's in there, and that's why they hated him, tried to keep him out of there. It's going to be a glorious time, guys, over these next couple years. So prepare for impact. Here's Hakeem Jeffries. This just shows you what they would do if we didn't do military tribunals, if we didn't go to hand count votes and do national emergency on the elections. What would happen is that if the Democrats ever got control again, here's Hakeem Jeffries, one of the major cabal-oriented guys, head of the minority representative of the House, right? He says, reminder to all members of the Trump administration, the indictment and engagement in state violence against the American people is a serious crime. Donald Trump will leave office long before the 5-year statute of limitations expires. You are hereby put on notice. So what he's basically saying is what we're addressing here is basically saying, I'm gonna let him talk because he's so awesome. Let's listen to this now.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice. To all ICE officers, you have federal...
So Jeffries replies to that basically saying, hey, if we get control of this country, we're gonna go arrest all the ICE officers. Right? They're going to, just like they did all the J6 people, they're going to arrest the ICE officers. They're going to try to arrest Trump. They're going to arrest me and you. That is the warning. This is a war for all the marbles, right? This is Crown Royale is 107 we'll talk about. By the way, 107 is going to be on Friday. So make sure you're here on Friday. So we got a couple great guests coming on Thursday and Friday. I usually don't go live on Fridays, but if it's Juan's schedule, so I'm in here. So we'll be doing that this Friday with 107. Okay, same person. This is an important point. This shows you the two-tiered justice system. So Barack Obama's ICE chief gets an award for 920,000 removals. So Barack Obama was called the deporter in chief. Right, he deported tons of people. At that point in time, that was not the strategy for them to overwhelm us with illegals, right? So he deported a lot, 920,000 removals. Donald Trump's ICE chief is called a Nazi. It's the same person, Tom Homan. So if you look back at this, Tom Homan was working for Obama, and he was awarded award, and so it's just pretty crazy when you get back to this. Obama's. So can you see him putting that medal on Tom Homan for basically doing a great job?
ICE chief gets an award for 920,000 removals. Trump's ICE chief is called a Nazi. Same guy, Tom Homan, was in charge of it for Obama. Obama deported in 2012 409,000 people. Trump in 2025, 290. Wow. You got to do the math. It's so frustrating because, like you said, they've taken such an anti-Trump administration position that no matter what he does, even if it is in the name of good intentions, the problem is Minnesota is a sanctuary state. So because they're a sanctuary state, they do not cooperate with ICE. They can arrest somebody for a violent crime, have them in jail, and they release them on the street. And so ICE is forced to go get these people in the streets. Obama's ICE chief gets an award for 900.
Is that not classic? Just shows you that, and the media is he who controls the media controls the mind. That's what Jim Morrison said, right? He who controls the media controls the mind. And so they do this by everybody who's watching CNN and MSNBC, especially, and ABC, CBS, whatever it is. And they have right talking points too to get us all to fight. But whole point is that this is the insanity of what they do to have no matter what Trump does, it's bad. What is the hidden meaning behind the Q symbol at JFK's grave and the link to the Q drops? So if you want to dig into this more, I did a full blog on this and then posted it today. I did it this weekend. But if you go look at an aerial view of JFK's grave, it's a very clear Q. Now that was probably meant for evil by the cabal. Right, to show you defy us, because he was going to print treasury money. He was going to tear apart the CIA, and they killed him and put a Q. And the cabalist, Lyndon B. Johnson, our VP, took over. Right, and so this is a whole article about that and answers a lot of questions. I think you guys will enjoy it. I might go over this in more detail at a later time, but. This will answer a lot of questions. Why does JFK's grave look like that giant Q? And you can see that, but it'll answer that question. Yeah, again, you'll find this at faithandfreedom.org. So it's faith with the N, freedom.org. Faithandfreedom.tv is the web app. Faithandfreedom.org is where you'll find these blogs. This is the eternal flame where they buried him. Here, I link it to some Bible verses too. Who killed JFK and how does it tie to the deep state cabal? That's answered here as well. Linked to some scriptures as well. What is Arlington National Cemetery's role in the Q narrative? Unpacking JFK's legacy from presidency to martyr in the Q movement. So you'll see all that where we dig into that. Key connections in the Q drops from all this. You'll see some drops being discussed here. We'll talk about the Bible tie-in on this. Quite a few questions or some Q drops. Actually throw it in here to show you how that all ties into basically what happened. Q symbolism in JFK's grave. Good versus evil mirror. This is interesting. If you're wondering what does the Q shape in the grave mean, or JFK's grave aerial view Q symbolism, here's a straight up scoop. Aerial photos of Arlington National Cemetery clearly show paths, hedges, and layouts around JFK's gravestone curving into a giant Q. Just showed you that, right? For those in the Q movement, this isn't coincidence. It's a symbol of good flipping evil script, like a mirror in the Cabal's dark rituals. Their use of the 17th letter being the Q, obviously, right? And Q 461 says, the marker, learn to read the map, urging Annans to connect the dots from JFK's time to now. So, again, there's a bunch of generals got together. I'm going to search on this real quick. What most people think when this started. See if I can find that real quick. So here it is. So you see that after they've killed JFK, it's widely shared in patriot and research communities focused on the Q drops. That 77 U.S. generals is said to have gathered in a private meeting on Christmas Eve, 1963. Obviously, he was killed in November of 1963, right? So Christmas Eve, December 24th of 1963. That, by the way, that's one day after I was born. This is often described as the birth of the plan to save the world, evolving into Operation Freedom Eagle 35, named after JFK being the 35th president. These narratives claim it started with those 77 generals, grew to 133 generals within 3 months, and by 2014 involved 1,600 generals and participants from more than 22 nations, which is real interesting too. As a long-term effort against the deep state, they're so entrenched across with all the secret societies across all, and they were doing and we're doing probably instituting election fraud back then as well. But the story circulates in an alternative sites at X post as part of a long game leading to the Q's drops to the public phase. So, guys, this is where I believe that this did happen. That this long-term plan to catch the cabal and take him out. While popular among those following the drops, there are no official military or historical records of this 1963 meeting and specific operations of that era, but it remains compelling interpretive account of the movement. So this whole blog I did, I just wanted to kind of set people back to when did this plan begin? What's the theories there? Why is there a big Q on JFK's grave, and what does it mean? And we kind of go through the rest of that as well, that in this article. So you'll find it at faithandfreedom.org if you want to get into this article in more detail. And I'm just going to go to the back of this. How JFK ideals align with the Q movement. Transparency against corruption is the main one. Clues in JFK's assassination, declassified docs and Q decodes. We do some of that. Connecting past to present, future proves past in action. I've shown you some of that tonight as we go. JFK's grave is a hot spot from pilgrims to debates, right? Seeking truth in the shadows. Why Q stands against skepticism, and that'll the eternal flame rolls, the symbol of hope in the Q storm, and then a conclusion. Why the Q at JFK's grave proves the plan is real. And so I think you'll enjoy this article. I'm try to do these each week. And so, again, follow it on faithandfreedom.org, faithandfreedom.org. I'll put it out on all my social media as well. So if you can follow me on social media, I will be posting that probably tomorrow. So here's Trump's 1-year anniversary, promises kept and records shattered. So this is this long article of Just the News talking about everything Trump's done, like mortgage then and now. Average mortgage rates down from 6% during Biden. They were up almost 8% at a point in time. Pretty wild. Here is the gas prices cratering, right? Going from $2.82 a gallon right now. A year ago, they were at $3.08. They were up above $5 a gallon for a while under Biden. And here's excellent prices. So the egg prices down to about $2.71 for a dozen. when they were up to almost $5 a dozen under Biden, right? Biden inflation no more, right? The 2.7%. We know that Biden had at one point in time peaked at 9.1% inflation was happening. Devalue our dollar in a big way, right? And so this is GDP growth, right? We're at 4.3% now. We're thinking we're going to get up to 5.3%. It was like 2.4% under Biden. So again, great improvement in everything. Immigration and foreign population remaining in the country. So again, the whole decline and the border crossings down 95%. Big, huge promises kept. Peace deals signed. We talk about all those massive peace deals and 8 wars ended. And Trump didn't even get the Nobel Peace Prize. FBI most wanted captured. 5 of the 10 most of the 10 most wanted fugitives were captured here just in the first year. Middle class tax cuts. So those are going to expire, as you know, and made those permanent. And so there might be way bigger tax cuts coming later with the tariff revenues coming in like mad right now. $264 billion coming in. So promises made, promises kept. That's right. So here's somebody from YouTube saying, I've had 16 marquee letter Q in front of Windows since early 2018. It's just part of the scenery for my neighbors these days, but it's for me apparently, not them. Yeah, I see that. But Linda's basically saying gas prices have gone way down, no question about it. So pretty cool stuff going on here, guys, to be on this journey with you together. Make sure you're, again, thumbs up. This helps people find this. Make sure you share it. Really appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed to these channels as we continue to go on this journey together, because it is going to be fun to report on this stuff the next, especially 6 months, when all the election fraud is finally coming out. All roads lead to Virginia if the GDP doesn't wisen up and crack. This is what I was talking about, guys. What they've done here is crazy. I summarized it into these, what they have done in here. They've Democratic control in Virginia. So this Abigail Spanger, the Democrat, was sworn in as governor, replacing Youngkin, right? And what have they done? Well, they've just pretty much made immigrated-related policies. They rescinded Youngkin's executive order requiring state law enforcement to assist federal deportation. So they're basically moving back to being a sanctuary state type thing. They worsened legal immigration by banning civil arrests for immigration offenses in courthouses, guaranteeing free education and undocumented immigrants, using taxpayer funds to teach English to incarcerated undocumented immigrants. So we're paying our tax money to basically help out, criminals that were incarcerated that are not even U.S. citizens. Right? HB 1314 ends qualified immunity for police and federal officials, allowing broad civil suits. So basically, police can be more likely sued. Criminal justice reforms. They say it's pro-crime, but reclassifies certain robberies as non-violent. HB 30, it also removes mandatory minimum sentences for repeat protective order violations. So basically, these are pro-criminal things. School discipline charges require schools to demonstrate use of evidence-based restorative disciplinary practices before expelling unruly and violent students. So basically, it's harder to get rid of violent students out of the schools. Here's the big one. Look at this, guys. This is what the Democrats are doing to the state of Virginia. Bills to prevent hand counting of ballots in close races. So basically, can't have hand count ballots. Nope. Expanded absentee ballot timelines and ballot curing, so there can be more election fraud, obviously. Ban voter registration challenges. Allow certain voters to participate electronically via the internet. Well, what could go wrong with that? Just shows you that this is what happens when Democrats get control. Efforts to enshrine rights related to transgender issues. Right? Other measures allows anonymous reporting of hate crimes. So you can basically report a hate crime without even saying who you are. And so these policies create dangerous environmental favoring criminals, illegals, and certain ideologies over law-abiding citizens and police. Their redistricting could lock Democrat control, preventing future GOP recovery. Virginia serves as a blueprint for national Democratic rule if Republicans don't aggressively counter with strong leadership, criticizing small government approaches and calling for strongmen to fight back. This is pretty crazy, guys. That is what's going on here. Here's Trump saying no single person or president has done more for NATO than the president of the United States. You know, he's traveling to Davos. He's going into the Viper Pit. But he's going in not as a person scared. He's going in a person demanding change about what he's doing. He's being basically say, I'm doing the Monroe Doctrine. I'm taking Greenland over, and I'm not going to bow on what's happening in Venezuela. And you guys better get on board, or you're going to be all exposed as the globalists that you are. Right? If I didn't come along, there would be no NATO right now. It would have been in the ash heap of history. Sad but true. So this whole NATO thing and United Nations is being exposed, and it'll be real interesting if Trump moves more toward and now Europe is like doing some things like letting the CCP come and do some of its defense. It's getting crazy out there. Those old alliances are changing. It's changing. There's T. Mitchell saying, "Sick Virginia." Right? Yeah, Texas definitely has a big Islam issue as well. No question about that, where trying to put in Sharia law. We've got to take hard stances against that and fight that. Hey, so we have this week, the next 5 or 6 days, look at this. Cassandra Watkins, a beautiful woman of God, and just sold herself out. She reminds me of Sheila Holm a lot. Just great testimony, doing some great things. She's coming on Thursday night. Juan O'Savin will be on Friday night, and then Mary Crowley on Monday night. So, and Mary will, if you're backstage, she'll be doing prophecy over those that are backstage and have their camera on. So if you don't have a backstage pass, that's free. It's also how you were able to come back into the Zoom and participate here. I love it. BC2 Builder, thank you so much. Says, great show and good data. Appreciate you. But what we have here, guys, is just some fun stuff coming up with great people and guests. So I had a cancellation on Monday based on travel schedules of our guests, but we'll be rescheduling the artists, Dr. Artists and those guys. But having these awesome doctors and these awesome patriots and these awesome prophets and these awesome inside scoop people is fun too. So join us here. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the notifications are on. Looking so forward to continuing to report the news with you guys. And with that, we're gonna close it down and just say thank you. Make sure you're following us. We have 4 new channels, by the way, on Rumble. If you just look at the 24/7 channels that we have, one is just go to faithandfreedom.live, faithandfreedom.live, and you will find it there. And that is this main channel here. I'm just going to go to my feed and you'll see. I'm going to show you the 4 channels that are live on Rumble now 24/7. So they're great background channels. One is just growing your faith. You can see there's 12 people on that right now. Growing your faith. And that's where we have Amanda Grace and Donna Clement Petruska and my teachings and so many beautiful people doing great work on growing with faith. Another one here is Biohackingville. This is a new one we just launched. This is going to have the Dr. Tenpennies and Dr. Artis and John Richardson on B17. All the biohacking tricks from a faith perspective. So another cool channel to make sure you're subscribed to. So subscribe to those. And then the main one is this one. You can see there's 144 people on it right now. And that is Faith and Freedom TV 24/7. You can get there from faithandfreedom.live. Just type in faithandfreedom.live, or you can find it by searching Faith and Freedom TV as well. But faithandfreedom.live is a URL that will get you right to this 24/7 channel. This is a conglomeration of everything. It's got the great teaching. It's got the great prophecies. It's got the great truther teachings of like Juan O'Savins and stuff like that. It's got all these different beautiful patriots, the Dr. Artisan, the Dr. Tenpenny, all in one 24/7 feed going. Beautiful channel. Make sure you're following that. That'll also be available on, if you want to, download the apps and be able to watch it at faithandfreedom.tv. You can do it on Roku, Fire TV. You can do it on your Apple TV, your Android TV, as well as on your iOS and Android device. And then we have a seventh app, which is a web app at faithandfreedom.live. faithandfreedom.tv. So faithandfreedom.tv is where the web app is and where you can download all the apps. And faithandfreedom.live is what will bring you right to the Rumble channel. That's 24/7. So all kinds of ways to watch. I'm just so excited to have all these patriots, all these beautiful God-fearing Christian patriots coming into we have 27 shows on this channel right now. And they're going to have 100 by the end of the year. It's going to be quite exciting. Love you all. With that, keep the faith, be in the Word of God all the time, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll be teaching on a Word and Worship on replacement theory versus the promises to Israel's land and people. God bless you all. Talk to you soon.
Night. Good night, all. Sweet dreams.
Good, Joe. God bless.
God bless. Bless y'all. Good night.
Good night. I didn't get it deleted or anything. Bye, everybody.
Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.